Hi, welcome to my video on 30, 60, 90 triangle, part 6, primary trig ratios number 2. And just a note, do the units on square root radicals and the unit on right triangular trig first. That will make the simplification and learning Sakatoa. Just review or go over those units. In the last video we discussed writing 30, 60, 90 right triangle as a 1 and a 2 and a root 3 when n is 1. And I asked you to keep this triangle in mind. So let's use that to simplify these sine, cos, tan, the primary trig ratios. And one way to learn it is Sakatoa, S-O-H-C-A-H-T-O-A. And S-O-H is sine is opposite over hypotenuse. C-A-H is cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And T is for tan is opposite over adjacent as primary trig ratios of sine, cos, and tan. Let's work out some of these as examples. The sine of 30. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. 30 opposite over hypotenuse is 1/2. The cos of 60. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. 60 adjacent is 1. Hypotenuse is 2. And a half plus a half is 1. B, tan 60 times sine 60. That's a multiplication sign, understood. That's like x, y, x times y, or a, b, a times b. So the tan of 60, tan is opposite over adjacent. Tan of 60 is opposite over adjacent, which is root 3 over 1, or root 3. The sine of 60, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, opposite root 3 over hypotenuse 2. So we multiply these two, and root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is 3, and that's over 1, understood. 2 times 1 is 2. So 3 over 2, or 1.5. And C, 8 cos 30. So that's 8 times, that's like an 8x, which means 8 times x. So 8 cos 30 is 8 times cos 30. The cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 30 adjacent is root 3 over 2. Root 3 over 2. And the 8 is over 1, so when we're multiplying fractions, cancel if we can. 2 and the 2 goes once, 2 and 8 goes 4. So we get a 4 root 3. And sine squared 30 means that's this, like this. Understood. So that square is the same as the sine of 30 all squared, same thing. So we have to do the sine of 30 first and put the square outside like this. So the sine is opposite over hypotenuse. 30 opposite is 1 over hypotenuse is 2. So when we take a half and square it, it's a half times 1/2. And 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. E, 10, tan 30, cos 60. So we have to simplify. This is like a 10x, y. 10 times x times y. So let's do the tan of 30 and the sine of 60. The tan of 30, 30, tan is opposite over adjacent, so that's 1 over root 3. And the sine of 60, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse is root 3 over 2. Now notice I could have simplified this. I could have taken 1 over root 3 and multiplied by root 3 over root 3, and I would have got root 3 over 3. Root 3 times root 3 is 3, or root 9 is 3. But if I leave it like this, it's the same thing. But normally you would simplify this, but let's simplify this as 1 over root 3, I simplified it, is root 3 over 3, root 3 over 2. and we multiplying fractions, so we cancel. 2 and to 5 goes 2, and root 3 times root 3 is 3, so that's 5 times 3 over 3, and the 3's cancel, and I get a 5. I could have done that back here. If I didn't simplify 1 over root 3, the root 3's would have canceled. In other words, if I had 10 and 1 over root 3 times root 3 over 3, if I left it like this without making it root 3 over 3, the root 3's would have canceled. The 2 and the 5, 10 would have went 5, and I would have got 5 right away by cancellation. But if I simplify 1 over root 3 to root 3 over 3, which I should do, then I work the math. I'm multiplying fractions so I can cancel anywhere top to bottom, and works out to be 5. Root 6 tan 60 is root 6, and the tan of 60, tan is opposite over adjacent, so that's 60. Opposite is root 3 over adjacent is 1, so the tan of 60 is root 3. Root 6 times root 3 is the root of 18. And the root of 18 is 9 times 2, so that's a 3 root 2. G, 6 cos 30 degrees plus 18 tan 30 degrees. So let's simplify the cos of 30, that's a multiplication, plus 18 times the tan of 30. So let's do the cos of 30. Cos of 30, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's root 3 over 2. The tan of 30, we did the tan of 30 back here. Tan of 30, tan is of 30, tan is opposite over adjacent, so it's 1 over root 3. And 1 over root 3 simplifies to root 3 over 3. And it's better to simplify it all the time. So if you get a root on the bottom, multiply by the conjugate. So 1 over root 3, you multiply top and bottom by root 3, like I did right here. Now, since we're multiplying, we have to obey PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. The brackets are done. There's no power, so we multiply before we add. So 2 into 6 goes 3. So that's a 3 root 3. 3 into 18 goes 6, so that's 6 root 3. Notice that the two roots are the same, so let's write down root 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. Remember, 3 root 3 is like a 3x plus a 6x, which is 9x. So root 3, when you add radicals, they got to be the same radicals. In other words, you can only add a root 3 to a root 3, or a root 2 to a root 2, but you can't add a root 3 to a root 2. H, the sine of 60. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 60 is root 3 over 2, opposite over hypotenuse. The cos is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The cos of 60 is the adjacent 1 over hypotenuse 2. Notice we're dividing fractions, so instead of dividing fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal of a half, which is 2 over 1. And the 2's cancel, so I get a root 3 for the final answer. So, let's continue. We're simplifying with the primary trig ratios on the 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And again, we have the 30, 60, 90 right triangle. Opposite 30 is 1, opposite to 90 is 2, opposite to 60 is root 3. Remember, what we did, we let n be 1 in n, 2n, and root 3. This is the triangle that I will work with trig all the time to do the trig. And I'll never forgotten this triangle. Find the exact values of each. Practice. Practice means pause the video and work these out. So this is root 3 times sine 30. Oh, sorry. I said sine 30. Cos 30. Oh, Sakatoa. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tan is toa. Tan is opposite over adjacent. Sakatoa. T-O-A. Sakatoa. Anyway, be careful. Again, I make a few errors. So I got to try to catch myself in making the errors. And the cos of 30. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse 30. Adjacent is root 3 over hypotenuse 2. We're multiplying, so we can't cancel. So root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is 3. And the root 3 is over 1, so 1 times 2 is 2. Number 2, we have to do the tan of 60. 60 degrees, tan is opposite over adjacent, which is root 3 over 1, or just root 3. And 6 sine 60, that's a multiplication. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, root 3 over 2. And we have to do PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. You got to go do the order of operations. We have to multiply before we. So notice I put in the tan 60, the sine 60 first. Now I do the order of operations. And so when I multiply here, that's 6 over 1. I cancel. 2 into 6 goes 3. That gives me 3 root 3. And notice that's a 1, and that's a 1. So when I add root 3's, 1 plus 3 is 4. Cos squared of 60 degree angle, that means the cos of 60 squared. Now I'm just writing it just like this. That's just another way to write it. And so we work out the cos of 60. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. The cos of 60 is adjacent 1 over 2. A half squared is a half times a half. And that's 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 12 tan 30. So that's 12 times the tan of 30. Tan of 30. Tan is opposite over adjacent. 30 opposite over adjacent. Notice we got a 1 over root 3. I'm going to put the 1 over root 3 right here because I said 1 over root 3. Well, I could put it here and then simplify it. But if you put it 1 over root 3, you multiply by the conjugate, which is root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is 3. 1 times root 3 is root 3. Notice if I did 1 over root 3, I would have to simplify it again and write it down. So if you simplify it here and put it here in here, it's sometimes faster than writing out the whole problem. The 3 cancels into 12, 4, so we get a 4 root 3. Number 5, PEMDAS. We have the order of operations, P-E-M-D-A-S. And I have to do the sine of 30. The sine of 30, notice I have 8 times this, so I have to do the sine of 30. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's 1 over 2. The cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 1 over 2. So I filled in sine 30, cos 60, and now I have to do PEMDAS. I have to do the inside of the brackets first. So a half minus a half is 0. That's done, no exponents. Now I have to multiply to get 0. You still obey the order of operations no matter what math you're doing, what skills in trig or in rational expressions or operations on fractions or integers or anything. You always obey PEMDAS. And notice we have a cos squared and a sine squared of the 30 degree angle. So cos squared 30, that's the cos of 30 being squared. So let's do the cos of 30. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. 30, adjacent, root 3 over hypotenuse 2. Then we got sine squared 30. So that's the sine of 30 being squared. Sine of 30, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's 1 over 2. So when we square root 3 over 2 times root 3 over 2, and we got a half times a half. So I'm just writing that down just so you can see it. Because in PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, the brackets are already done because you can't do anything with root 3 over 2 or a half. Now you have to do your exponents. So I wrote that out so you can see it. Root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is 3. 2 times 2 is 4, plus A half times a half, 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. And we add 3/4 plus 1/4. Common denominator is 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. And 4 over 4 gives us 1. Number 7. We have to do the sine of 60. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Sine opposite over hypotenuse is √3 over 2. The cos of 60. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Cos adjacent 1 over 2. And again, we're dividing fractions. So when we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2 over 1. When we're multiplying, I cancel if I can. 2's cancel, and I get a √3. Number 8 is √6 times tan of 60. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So 60 opposite over adjacent is √3 over 1, or just a √3. √3 over 1 or √3. Now we're multiplying roots. So I'm going to do this 2 ways. Most people probably would go √6 times √3 is √18. Then they say √18 is 9 times 2. So that's a 3√2 when you simplify it. Sometimes when you're doing roots, rather than multiply it to get a bigger number, just say that's the root of 6 times √3 is the root of 6 times 3. And 6 is 2 times 3 times that 3. And notice you have 3 times 3, that's 2 3's, that's a 9, so that's a 3√2. Because you got the square root of 2 3's, which is a 9, you take the 3 out. So you can make it 18 and break it down to 9, or times 2. But when you multiply, notice, then you still got to break it down. So if you break it down like I did, go 6 is 2 times 3 times 3, then you can see you got 2 3's, so you take 1 out because that's a 9. Either or, whatever way you do it, make sure you know what you're doing. So that's simplifying the prime factors on cos of the 30, 60, 90 right triangle. And if you like my video, click the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, because there's more videos coming. And visit my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and my content. And that's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.